Chinese Communist Party to account. And it goes back, in the mainstream media clip that you played, they talk about this so-called mainstream narrative on the origins of COVID, which was, of course, buttressed by all the fact checkers, entities like Lead Stories, which we had the editor in chief of that on, Alan Duke, if you remember 2 years ago. They were citing researchers from the Wuhan Institute of Virology to conduct their fact checks on articles that I had written at the National Pulse and show clips from War Room. And the scientists that were writing the statements, whether on behalf of the Lancet Medical Journal, the World Health Organization, all of these, so-called trust the expert groups, they were all part of I would argue, decades long, but at least since the onset of COVID-19, intensive political warfare compromise campaign conducted by the Chinese Communist Party. So this so-called mainstream narrative about the origins of COVID is playing exactly in the hands of the Chinese Communist Party. And honestly, there's no meaningful difference in terms of the editorial line of most of these mainstream media outlets and that of Chinese state-run media up until a few days ago. So I don't want to hear the pivot, the spin from these news outlets as they're, lamenting that, the CCP isn't being transparent, because these people, these very same people, are the ones who are championing international collaboration. Remember, in the early days of COVID-19, when we were debating here in the United States whether or not to shut off travel to China, Anthony Fauci was funding studies at the Wuhan Institute of Virology where they were writing papers about how we need to not only keep those borders open, keep travel going, but why U.S. and China scientific collaboration is key. These people don't understand, and I think you even saw that at the hearing last night, and Washington, D.C., because the CCP has conducted these very, very elaborate and intensive foreign influence campaigns. You can't call the CCP out for what they are, which is an existential threat. And it's not the CCP that acts alone. COVID is a perfect example. Wherever you find the CCP's chaos that they inflict here in the United States, the American establishment is always there, either helping them fund it or helping support it. Example, Anthony Fauci funding the Wuhan Institute of Virology.